Howdy folks, in this particular lecture I'm going to show you how to set up SFTP or Secure File Transmission Protocol server into your Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9. So this lecture is gonna kind of work with every Red Hat families you can think of. So if you follow this lecture along, you can actually utilize that. For example, in Oracle Linux, which is Red Hat fork. You can utilize in CentOS, which is a Red Hat fork. You can utilize in Rocket Linux, Alma Linux, Miracle Linux, and Linefalls. It's called Orion Linefalls. These are also Red Hat families. You can also utilize in OpenSUSE, which is also a Red Hat family. So let's jump right in and take a look into the way we're going to do everything. So I'm going to do it in my way. It's not like I'm doing everything in some kind of a way that people see in a YouTube video or in a blogs. Okay, so it's going to be a very customized SFTP server configurations. Okay, and I just want to let you know that this lecture is for somebody who has certain skill set in Linux. Okay, so if you're very new to Linux, it's going to be really hard for you to actually follow along. So you'll have to have certain understanding about Linux. Not necessarily, you have to have very good knowledge, some kind of a basic skills like directory structure, how the directories form, and the path, what is the path involves, and how to navigate your directory structure, and how to give permissions, and what is the ownership, and how the permissions and ownership works together, and so on, how to update the systems and so on. So let's jump right in and take a look into our Red Hat server. So this is Red Hat running Proximus virtual environment. Okay, so I got a lot of Linux and Unix servers running in my Proximus. So this is Red Hat 9, and I'm gonna enlarge the screens from here so that you can see and follow along. So the first thing I want to do is basically, this lecture is a mix of theory and because I go extra miles just to figure out how these things work. It's not much point putting out lectures in a YouTube video showing people, a lot of people is going to show you SFTP server establishment in a root directory, and that doesn't work. Why are you going to put it in root? Because it's easy for them to make that kind of video, but this lectures go above and beyond to show you that you don't do it in root. You do it in different partition. So it's going to be a little bit complicated how things works out, because there's a lot of the permission and ownership related issues that we need to configure. So this is Red Hat Linux 9.7. Okay, so from here, the first thing you do is basically you go into your command line right here. Okay, so for SFTP server, you need to get into the root so that you can start doing a real serious work. So I'm going to do su-l, and then I'm going to put out my password right here. That's a root password to get into the root, and then I'm going to do cd root. And just for your sake, I'm going to do lsb release -ac, and it tells you the information. This is Red Hat Linux 9.7, and the code name is called plow. But you can see that little better if we do high fetch, that you have to install actually. And you can see it's Red Hat, we color for Red Hat, and it gives a lot of information. The information that we're looking at in here is this particular path, /media/gooncat, and it has 1.92 gigabyte. Okay, and it is actually under extended 3 file generating systems. So this is the directory, or the sorry, not just the directory. This is the partition of the disk that where we want our SFTP server pointed out. Okay, and we're gonna go above and beyond to figure all these things out, because we don't want in a root partitions. Okay, so we have a root partitions of 59.94 gig, 21% has been utilized, so we've got a lot of spaces in here. But we don't want that. And a lot of lectures you see in YouTube videos basically focusing on root, and it's easy to show them because it's easy to configure that way. But why you want to do it in root? Root is for your file systems, it's not for your SFTP server. What is SFTP server? It's basically you put out a file there, and then somebody can upload more files there, or they can download your files there, upload down, or you can remove the files from there, and so on. It's a file server protocol. It's not for the root, and definitely don't want it in root. Okay, so that's why this lecture is going to be a little complicated, because we're going to do it in this particular partition table. that is in the under slash media, which is mounted in slash media slash guncat. So let's just take a look into a little bit more details about that. df-h will give you information about this particular mount point, slash media slash guncat, and that's why it is been mounted. But when you installed Red Hat, you do customize installations. So what I did is basically, when I did this installations and customized installations, I created the partition table. Okay, I created XFS partition, and I given and that amount of spaces for root, that amount of space for boot, that amount of space for home, and then I give an extended 3 file general system partition. And what happened with the Red Hat and Red Hat related families is it created a mapper. So I would suggest, don't do that. Don't create extra partition. Okay, so just do the root, boot, home, etc. But don't do the extended 3 file general system, that what I have done. So what they have done is basically they put it under the mapper. That you don't want. What you do need is basically you leave that space empty. Okay, so I'll show you what it is now. So if you do gparted in here, which is basically graphical user interface space. So you can see the disk. You will see the disk in here. It just takes a bit of a while to. Yeah. So it's showing you the whole SDA2 is 89 gig, but it doesn't show you anything else. You know, it doesn't show you what that extended 3 partition of whatever 1.9 gig. It doesn't show you what, because it's all in the mapper. Okay, so that is a problem with the Red Hat and Red Hat family. So don't create partition of extended 3 file general system or whatever partitions or file generals you want to put out during the installation process. Do it later on, and then go to SCFS file and manually include that so that it can mount automatically. I'm going to show you that as well. But what I don't want you to do is basically do the way I have done it in here. Okay, so close that, and if you do lsblk in here, you'll see a little bit more information, and you can see it's gone under Red Hat Enterprise Linux Media guncat, and it is mounted right there in that mount points. But the problem is that it doesn't show you as an extended partition. You know, it doesn't show you as a different partition. It got all mushed up, but it's cool because it done the mapper things in there. But the thing is, the way you're gonna do is basically, if you do now nano root etc and then fs tab, you see something in here, and you can see that it has gone in the mapper, and then it has created the extended 3 file general systems, and that's fine, but they're all gone inside of the Red Hat mapper. Okay, so you don't see outside as a partition. This is something that I suggest you do. You create a different partition, and all you do is basically you find out the path where it is mounted, you put out the path right there. So it's going to be dev SDA5 or SDA7 or whatever, and then you mount it that point slash media slash guncat whatever, and you establish the partition file general systems. Okay, so in my case this is extended 3 file generals. You can put XFS or extended 4 file general system, or even UFS or Unix file systems, and then these are given because I've done it, like I said, in Red Hat installation process. It has given by default 1, 2, but in most cases, if you create different partition table as like partition, and then you mounted it, and then automatically mounted it, just you have to reconfigure that, then you put out 0, 0. Okay, so I thought that I was going to show you that little bit because that helps. Okay, so from here, so you're going to do everything's in Red Hat family, because one of the reasons, because this is where you want to do the job. This lecture is not for some people just to do the fun. You know, this is something that you need to learn so that you can get a job as sysadmin or Java developer and so on. That's why I've gone above and beyond to just show you this. Okay, this is not necessarily directly related with SFTP, but it's really critically important that you understand that. You don't want you want your SFTP server in a different partition. So in our case, it's gonna be a slash media slash guncat, where this 2 gig or 1.9 gig. We want SFTP server there, so you can put out file. You know, the maximum length or the maximum amount of file you can put it is the capacity of that disk is 1.9 gig, and that's what we want, and that's cool enough because it's better than emails. You know, if you have the email server like Gmail or anything like that, first of all, you don't want to put out any file as an attachment in Gmail, because these assholes are gonna look into everything, and if something that is confidential, they're gonna keep it, and they can make a case out of you and put you in jail. So don't use Gmail or any third-party email servers and put your files there. They get everything there. If you have a confidential file that you want to share with somebody, utilize SFTP server. Okay, so from here, so we jump right in and start looking at the process of doing things, and we want to do everything in the right way. So I'm going to clear this skin from here, and then I'm going to do PWD to see where we are. And then there are a few things that we want to do, and I do it in my own way. Okay, so there are many different ways of doing SFTP server, but if you follow along my way, that's customized because we have that particular disk partition. That's why we're gonna have to do it in my way. So from here, for SFTP server, it's basically open SSH. Okay, so we want to do systemctl and then status SSHD. And then just press enter, and this is active and running, and you can do SSH -v, and it tells you that open SSH is running. If it doesn't, it comes with Red Hat or any Linux, then you just have to install it and just do DNF install SSHD, but it comes with it. You just have to mount. So in terms of making sure that it is actually always running, you have a lot of different commands to do that. And one of the important commands in there is basically systemctl enable SSHD. So if you do systemctl enable SSHD, that means every time it boots up, it will automatically run. Okay, and in my case, it's already been configured, and that's cool. And the other thing that we want is a Tor. Okay, and the why is Tor? Because Tor is going to overlay your internet service protocol, and you can be working as like remote. Okay, so it's like a virtual stuff. And I have installed Tor. So if you do systemctl again, and I'll show you another command, because service Tor and then status. You can do that way. Okay, so you do, and this Tor is running, and because the Tor it says in very clearly anonymizing overlay network for TCP or transmission control protocol. Why we need that? Because we're gonna mimic and test it like we're outside of our local area network, remotely access SFTP server. We'll do that a little later if time permits. Okay, so and then from here I'm gonna clear the screen and jump right in and start doing things that we really need to seriously do to establish our SFTP server on that particular partition. Okay, and like I said to you, that partition is under mapper. Okay, ideally you don't want that. You want a different partition with extended 3, so that in GP, when you go to gparted, you can actually see that partition. And at this moment you cannot see anything. That's cool, no problem. We will solve everything one at a time. So from here, pwd, and you are in the root. Who am I? You are in the root. So do everything's in the root. So the first thing you want to do is basically create a group. Okay, and the group name is going to be SFTP. So we're going to do group add, and that's the command, group add, and then SFTP, all small letter. Okay, and hit enter. So we have a group called SFTP already exist. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's not a problem. And now we're going to create a user for this particular group. Okay, so we're going to do user add, and then -g for that group. We're going to add that into our group, so SFTP, and then we want -s, so that it's a shell based sbin, and that basically I'm going to explain you a little later. Let me just type that command, no login, and minus, and then we want a bushmaster. So let me just explain that to you so that you can understand better. Bushmaster, and I may have created this username as well. So what I'm telling is basically I want that bushmaster to be added into that SFTP group, and I want as a shell, but I don't want going to shell in terms of basically going in is exactly into my bash shell. I want this particular shell login, and where people actually be jailed. Okay, so they cannot go anywhere else. I mean, that's the security reasons. And hit enter, and it may say user bushmaster already exists, and that's cool. That's absolutely fine. But what we do want is basically we created these groups and we created this user. That's absolutely fine. And we want to create a password for this particular user. So okay, so do passwd, and then we're gonna do bushmaster, and then you're gonna ask you to put out a password, a new password. And I'm gonna put out a new password here, and wherever you create is different, you know what I mean, different SFTP server. Just try to be parallel with the password choices and everything. So okay, so we're gonna be this particular password, and all authentication tokens are updated successfully. So this is the first thing you need to do. Okay, after that I'm gonna go back right there, and then the second thing you're gonna do is basically creating a set of directories. Okay, so that is very critical, because in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is basically ls-l, and then we look into media directory, and you can see we need to change all that. We're gonna do that little later, because our group, so the root is the user, and we're gonna keep that root user, that's fine. And then the group is gonna be not gonna be root, it's gonna be SFTP. Okay, because we changed that root, otherwise it's gonna be really mush mush. So we're gonna do from here is so we do cd media and then do ls-l. You can see the goon cat is there, and also again we need to change all that, but we're gonna do it a little later, otherwise it's not gonna work. Okay, so we're gonna have to the group change to SFTP. Okay, the user can be root, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so from here you can do cd goon cat and do pwd, and you can see where you are. If you do cd goon cat from here, and then you ended up coming in here and do ls-l, there's nothing there. Okay, and that's fine. And we do pwd, this is the path, this is the original base path. Okay, so from there we built on. Okay, so what we do need to do now is basically we're gonna issue a command. Okay, so we can do cd root back there, clear this screen, pwd, and you are in the root. Okay, so we're gonna issue a command with a password, so we know exactly where we are, and very simple. So we just make directory, so mkdir -p, and then root media, we know that. Okay, and then we have a goon cat. Okay, and then it's really important, so we're gonna create a directory. So the directory name I usually give SFTP goon, and most of the video you will see they're gonna just put SFTP. That is very confusing, because the group is SFTP. The directory name should not be the same as group. Okay, that's why I changed it to SFTP goon in my case. Okay, so that's why people get confused when they look into the video, what the fuck is going on. You don't want the same group name with the directory name. Okay, so that's why I changed it to SFTP goon. Don't give SFTP, then you're gonna get confused. If you're a beginner, you're gonna get very confused, because the group name is SFTP. You don't want the directory name SFTP either, because then you're gonna get very confused. So that's why I changed the name to SFTP goon. And then under there, we're gonna create a directory, and this is important. This directory name has to be the same name for what we created the users. In our case, is the Bushmaster. Okay, why? Because in chroot, when we're gonna do jail it, basically people will land into the Bushmaster. Okay, they don't want to go anywhere else. They don't want to go anywhere else, because you don't want to allow them to go anywhere else. Otherwise, they're gonna fuck the system up. Okay, and then we're gonna create another directory under there, and this is really important. And this directory is gonna be everything's gonna put it there. So you're gonna do upload, download. Makes sense, you know. It's self-explanatory. You can upload there, you can download from there. Okay, and you can put downloads if you want, but I just keep it singular, upload, download. And this is gonna be very, very important. So you're gonna do that, and it's done. So now we have to do everything in like a scratch, like a, you know, really pushing your donkey. And basically what we're gonna do, ls-l. This is something most of the lectures are not gonna show you. So the first thing you do is basically check that your directory has all been created. So do cd media and do ls-l, and you have that goon cat. Okay, so do cd goon cat and do ls-l. And see SFTP goon is created. Okay, so do pwd and see this is your path. Do SFTP cd SFTP goon, and now do pwd, and you see the paths media goon cat SFTP goon, right? And you can see the SFTP goon is root. We have to change. We're gonna change start one at a time. Okay, and do ls-l, and then here you have Bushmaster. And Bushmaster is root as well. So we do cd Bushmaster. We can actually, yes, we can do cd Bushmaster and do pwd. This is path. So you're going inside nested way. Okay, and now you can do ls-l again. You can see upload, download. Do cd upload, download, and you see root. We're gonna have to change all that. We're gonna do it now. Okay, one at a time. Upload, download, and do ls-l. There's nothing there. So this is where the file is gonna be. And if you do pwd now, you can see the whole path. Okay, the total path. There's a /media/goon cat SFTP goon bushmaster upload download. This is critically important. Just try to remember that because we need to work on that. Okay, so while we are doing all that at the moment, so what I want to do at this point, I'm going to open up another shell prompt so that that one can stay there. So we need that, and from here we do su -l, and it's a little bit easier for me to do that way. Okay, and password is basically my root password, and now we are in the root, cd root. Okay, and now from here what I want to do is basically changing all this permission path. Well, actually can do it from here. So we do cd back to the root. Okay, and then we do pwd, and we're in the root, and we're going to clear the screen and start doing some real hard work. ls -l. So now you can see the cd media. The media here is root is the user, and then the group is the root. So what we're going to do, we're going to change that to group SFTP and user remain root. So how are we going to do that? Ownership, that's what we call it. So chown is the ownership. Okay, and then we're going to do root : SFTP. Make sense? Okay, and it's going to be media. Okay, do that. So what I'm doing, ownership changing to root : SFTP. Really important, the group changed to SFTP now. Okay, and do ls -l. You see now the media group is SFTP, ownership is root, or the user is root, and that's fine. We're happy with that. So cd media now, and then clear this screen, do ls -l again, and then you see the goon cat. Now we're going to do the same thing, chown, okay, root : SFTP goon cat. Okay, so that's the way I like doing it. Okay, one thing at a time, so you're never gonna make mistakes. So from there, good, cd goon cat, go cd goon cat. Okay, and this is where your basic Linux commands, basic Linux skills play. So where you have SFTP goon. So here again, we're gonna do chown, root : SFTP and SFTP goon. Okay, do ls -l, and you see this has been changed to your root SFTP as well. As you can see, SFTP goon has been changed, and your media changed. We're going to check it again. We're going to further check it again. So do cd SFTP goon now, and then you have ls -l again, and you see root. We're going to change that to chown, root : SFTP bushmaster. Okay, now ls -l again, and now root SFTP cool cd bushmaster. Okay, that's the way I prefer to do it. Okay, you can do it other way, that's fine, but this is the way I want to do it. ls -l, that's the way you actually avoiding all the mistakes. And when SFTP gets sucked, totally screwed up, it's really takes a lot of time. It's not hard, but it takes a lot of time to figure it out. So from here, upload download, good, chown, root : SFTP upload download. Okay, that's cool. ls -l changed. Okay, now do cd root. Now we can double check everything, clear this screen. Let me just drink some beer, dude. It's not hard. Now then, do ls -l. You see media, now change root SFTP, do cd media. Okay, ls -l, root SFTP, cd goon cat, ls -l, root SFTP, good, cd SFTP, ls -l, root SFTP bushmaster, do cd bushmaster, ls -l, root SFTP, do cd upload download, ls -l, root. That's fine, that's not a problem. But if you do cd dot do ls -l, we need to make sure that it's root SFTP. That's all cool. So now you do pwd. This is your whole path. Well, do cd upload download as well. Okay, do pwd. Now this is your whole path: media, goon cat, SFTP goon, bushmaster, upload download. So we're gonna keep that, and we come to the new command prompt. Okay, so from here, now this is really important what we have done here, because if you don't do that, then you're screwed up, because it's a different partition table. Okay, you don't have to worry too much about that if you're doing any root partition, because it's one fell swoop. But we don't want to do that. Okay, so we are doing it in a different way. Let me just send it myself. So from here, so what I'm going to do, sorry, I was just mentioning something to my friend in here. So from here, so we have created that partition table. What we really critically important is basically we're going to do a couple of things in here. One, I wanted to do, before I go anywhere from here, people ask me where the log files for your SFTP actually stays, and I want to show you where they are. So from here, if you do cd var or do ls-l first, okay, I want to make sure that you know, so do cd var, okay, and do ls-l and see that the directory called log, okay, somewhere around here, log directory. Can you see where my mouse is hovering? So do cd log and then clear this screen, do ls-l, and there will be a bunch of files and directories here. The one that we're looking is basically secure. Okay, this is the one. This secure file gonna keep all your logs, but this is a large file with all kind of logs going on. So we want to check the last 10 entries of the log. So how you do that? Do tail -n, and then number is -n, basically how many lines you want to see. That's number line. It's the 10, and then do secure. That's what you're gonna see, and hit enter, and it tells you everything. The session started, all that. At the moment you cannot see anything because we haven't done anything with SSHD. Okay, but this is really important, because if everything fails, this is your only resort. This is where you're gonna come in and you're gonna give you some kind of a cryptic message, ambiguous message, and that ambiguous message you can guess, what went wrong, and that's the only way you can SFTP problem resolve. SFTP is not a matter of joke, it's not for people who is beginner. It takes time to understand how things work, but we wanted to see everything. It says failed adding user, and that's fine because we tried, because Bushmaster was already with exit code and the password changed to Bushmaster. That's fine, and we have seen all that, and this is the log. And when we create a SFTP server and actually doing everything right, then that's fine. But if it goes something wrong, it will throw up some kind of a message, something like a directory structure issue problem, or a permission problem, or could be chroot directory issue related problem, and so on. And that way you can guess where you have to hit to reconfigure and resolve the issue. Okay, so that's where you have to come. So pwd, and you know exactly where you are, var log, and the file is called secure in Red Hat systems. Okay, so from here cd root, we back there, so clear this screen, and then from here we're gonna start doing something different now. So what we really need to do now is basically we need to go to the configuration file of SSHD and do some real hard work. Okay, and it's really important what we have done before, and this is the reason why we have this path right here, media guncat sftp gun bushmaster upload download. So this path is critically important. And chroot, what we mean by that is basically when somebody entered into this SFTP, we don't want they can access our whole entire server, and they can wreck the server and you're totally screwed up. We want to jail them so that they can actually stay in certain area, and that's it. They cannot go anywhere else. And that's where chroot comes in. And that file we need to be amended and edited. And that file is sshd_config file. Where that file is, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So we do nano etc, and then we have sshd, and then sshd_config. And that's the file. Okay, and you have to be root to look into that file. Hit enter, and that's the file. That's the file we're gonna actually change a lot of things in here. And from here, as you can see, I have already run certain things in here. So subsystem in here, this subsystems, if I delete that, you see this has become green. This you need to comment it out first. Okay, so we're gonna comment it up. Okay, so we have commented up subsystem SFTP, and then I actually created a subsystem internal SFTP, match group SFTP, and then the chroot directory. This is something we're gonna change it right there. And you remember, and that's why we went to that other things in here. Okay, so this is gonna be changed now. Okay, so we're gonna change everything from here, the chroot directory. Okay, so change that, and all you can do is basically you can actually copy that from here, or you can just type up whichever you prefer, and that's why we have that. So /media/guncat sftp gun. Okay, so this bit you can actually copy that. So just do that way, sftp gun. Okay, and then just copy that bit right there. Come back right in here, gently press right click, and then paste. Okay, so what we need to do from here, sorry, there's two root here, we need to get rid of that. So /media/guncat sftp gun, And then when it comes to the SFTP, remember /media/gooncat/SFTP, these are all directory, and all this directory have a group. We have changed all the group from root to SFTP, otherwise nothing gonna work. Okay, so remember, well, the user is a root and the group is SFTP. So we have changed in every level. So we changed it in media, we changed in gooncat, we changed in SFTP goon, and there was the user was root and the group is SFTP. Why? Because match group is SFTP here. Can you see match group? Sorry, here is also a little bit of an issue. It's actually match group. So make sure that it's capital letter. Match group. X11 forwarding, no. And then forced command internal. There is some issue in here. So what we need to do is basically, this bit, and then do. We actually need this bit, this bit in here, but we can leave it there. We shall see. The order is not that important at the moment. So from here, SFTP goon. Okay, so once we come in here in SFTP goon, and then do %u. What's that mean? Is basically it's gonna reverse back to your Bushmaster directory. That's what we call jailing it. Okay, and forced command internal SFTP, and then allow TCP forwarding, no, and forced command and X11 forwarding is no. But these orders actually, generally speaking, after ch root, this should be here. Okay, so let's just do that as well. Okay, so it's gonna be forced command internal dash SFTP. Okay, so this is the way you want, and then this one. The problem with this kind of changing in here with text editor, that you have to do everything. It's very annoying, I know. Okay, and then come in here. Okay, allow TCP forwarding, no, and then X11. Okay, and then obviously you have forwarding. And if you make mistakes with spelling, you are screwed. So you're gonna have to be very careful that you don't make any mistakes with the spelling. This is annoying. This is probably one of the most annoying part. Okay, so here we go. So we have now everything is in the order: subsystem SFTP, internal SFTP, match group SFTP, ch root directory. Okay, and this is really important. And what media gooncat, in every steps we have a SFTP as a group. Did you remember we did it one at a time? And then SFTP goon all the way, and %ui. That %ui means it reverts back to the user, which is Bushmaster, but you don't put out Bushmaster here though. Okay, then it's gonna get screwed. Okay, so you reverse back to your SFTP goon SFTP. So when you log in, we'll see when you test it, you will see what happens. Basically, when you log in, it's gonna get into Bushmaster directory. That means that %u means it is reversing back to Bushmaster directory. It's called jailing it, so you're jailing it, so you cannot go anywhere else. Okay, and that's the first security reason. And force command internal SFTP. Okay, and that's really important. And internal force command internal SFTP, allow TCP forwarding, no, and X11 forwarding, no. So once you do all that, and then all you do is Control X and Shift Y and hit enter. Okay, so that part is done. That was probably the most difficult part of the whole lecture. And now we're gonna do systemctl enable SSHD. That basically means every time it's mounted, and do systemctl restart SSHD. Okay, and then do systemctl status SSHD. And then if it's running and if everything's went right, then we are okay. So do hostname -i at this stage, so we know it's 192.168.175. So we're gonna clear this screen, and then we're gonna do is exit, and I'm gonna exit from here altogether, and then we are here in the other command prompt. So from here as well, so in here you can see that all has been changed to SFTP. group. Okay, so we're gonna do exit as well, and then do exit. Okay, so we're back. So now we're gonna open the terminal and see if everything's I've done right in this video, and I hope I did. You should be able to log into SFTP server. Okay, so we do SFTP, and then obviously our username is Bushmaster. Okay, and then do add, and well, before I do so, I need hostname -i. Okay, as 192.168.1.175. Okay, so do SFTP Bushmaster at 190.168.1.175, and it should ask you the password. Okay, so it's fingerprint the first time, and it's asking you the password. So the password I'm gonna put out and percentile, and it should get into SFTP. Here we go. Okay, so there is no problem. The reason we don't have any problem, just remember, the reason we didn't have any problem, because every stages from that /media all the way to goon to SFTP goon, and then Bushmaster, and all the way to upload download, all that directory structure we created, in that we change certain things. Okay, but what we haven't done so far is basically permission. So this is something that that's why I said that I'm gonna do it in my own way. The permission has not been changed. What we have done so far is basically we have done the ownership. Okay, and the ownership we have done in here is basically the user is a root and the group is SFTP. We've changed in every stage of that ownership, but we needed to give the permission level, and that's important. Why? Because people has to put files in the upload download directories and download those files as well. So that permission is going to be 777, and other permission is going to be 755 for each stage. Okay, so let's jump right in and do that. Again, that's really important. So actually our SFTP server has been resolved, but not all the way through. Okay, so let's jump right in and do the last bit. So we're going to exit from here, and then we're going to do su -l. Okay, and then put out the root password right there and do cd root. I'm going to do for last time, I'm going to show you ls -l, and you see this media directory. Now we have SFTP, not root anymore. That's our group, and our user is root. So what I plan to do now is basically all the way from there to all the way, we know what it is. So we're going to do permission wise, we do chmod. Okay, so 755 to start off with, and it's going to be going all the way from /media, and then goon cat, and then it's going to go all the way to our from there SFTP goon. Okay, so that it's going to go all the way there, 755 permission. Okay, and it's going to stop right there. Hit enter and do chmod, and then we're going to do 755 again, and it's going to go all the way again. Okay, and it's going to this time all the way to /media /goon cat, and then obviously we have our SFTP goon, and then the username. Did you remember? That's the username has to be matched the same with your directory, the Bushmaster. Okay, and hit enter, and now it's going to be 777 for upload download directory. So all the way again, chmod 777 this time. Okay, do media goon cat SFTP goon Bushmaster, and then upload download directory. That permission, what 77 means, basically people can actually able to upload and download. Okay, and hit enter, and that was really important. And I'm going to take a quick break at this stage, and I'll be back in few seconds. Right, folks, I'm back now, so I'm just gonna quickly put out the my videos right here, so you can see it from here. So what we're doing in here is, so we have done all the permissions right here, and now we have a few more things that we need to show you, and the thing that we need to do from here is basically we have logged into SFTP server just fine. Okay, so we need to test all these kind of things that we have done so far. So from here, you remember that we called about var log and secure file, and we went to SFTP server. So let's take a log into the time right now. This is 1427 in here. Okay, so we're gonna clear the screen, and then I'm gonna exit from here and then clear the screen. So I am normal user now. So who am I? I am UK, and this is what LSB release minus ASC, and you were in Red Hat. So from here, do SFTP, and you can this time you can do your Bushmaster at localhost because you were in the same computer, and then hit enter and do yes for the first time, and then he's gonna ask you the password, and this is your SFTP server password. Okay, and then you are in the SFTP. Remember, bear in mind, you just logged in at 1428. Okay, so from here, if you do pwd, you are in the root. That's called jails because you ended up going to the Bushmaster directory, and there is no way. If you give the credentials to people, your Bushmaster is your username and the password, people will jump right into here, and they cannot get into your server. You know, they cannot go into Oracle Linux file systems and wreck your file systems or do anything. They're just jailed in here. That's why the CSU directory was like, /media /gooncat, and then SFTP, SFTP goon, and then %ui, because we created the directory called Bushmaster, exactly the same name for the username Bushmaster. So %u means it reverts back to the Bushmaster directory, and that's where you are. Okay, so you cannot go anywhere else. You can go forward, so do ls-l and see there's a directory called upload download, but you cannot go anywhere back. So if you do cd ... you're not going to go anywhere. It's going to throw out a message. So you cannot go back. Why? Because CSS directory only go all the way to SFTP goon. Okay, that's why you cannot reverse back. So you're jailed in Bushmaster, and the Bushmaster is your username, and that has to be matched with the same directory name Bushmaster. Do you understand that conception now? Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is basically I'm gonna do cd upload, and then do ls-l. There's no file there, and that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna exit from here, and then now we're gonna start doing testing. So, okay, so what I need to do is basically I got a bunch of files of a Negro girl, a black girl's basically dancing in underwear. Okay, so these files is confidential files. So I want these files in a FreeBSD server, a different server. So what I do is basically going above and beyond. So I'm gonna torify. Basically, I'm gonna go as a remote host to go into the BSD server, and then I'm gonna bring those files right in here. Okay, so the way we're gonna do it is critically important. How you're gonna do it? You have to structure the plan how you're doing it. So you're actually torifying a SFTP server. Okay, so from here we know where we are. So first of all, just run the FreeBSD server. Okay, so I'm running the FreeBSD server now. I'm just firing up the FreeBSD server first. So this is something that I need to do first. Okay, so let's just do that first. So when you're in here, just press 1. So you're gonna multi-boot. So now our BSD server is asking for the leopard, so it's going to be leopard. username, and I'm going to put out the password right here. So now our BSD server is up and running, okay? And this is the BSD server. So if you do, so let me enlarge the screen a little bit so you can see a little better. So this is our FreeBSD server, and from here, let's say you want to do what you call clear the screen first, okay, and then do neo fetch or fast fetch. It tells you it's basically fast fetch is even better. So it gives you a little bit of information about your IP address, local IP address actually changed to 200 now. So that's your FreeBSD server. So we're gonna go back to our Red Hat. Okay, so like I said to you, that Tor need to be installed into the server. So we have done that, and I'm gonna do it again so that you can remember what we've done in here. So now we can clear the screen from here. So what we really wanted to do, we want to go back there. So before we do anything, do systemctl status Tor, and the Tor server is running, and it's really important the Tor server is running, because without Tor we will not be able to do anything. So from here, what we need to do is basically we want to bring those files, because those files are in SFTP server. So you have to use your command called get command. Okay, and my friend Jill actually taught me all that. So before we do so, you need to establish your directory where you want those files. So at the moment we are in here. Okay, so what I want to download those is downloads directories. Okay, so you're gonna be in downloads directory, and then do ls-l. So we have no file there, and this is where I want those files for temporarily speaking before we put them in our SFTP server. Makes sense, right? So you have to establish the directory first. The path at the moment is that /. So from here we're going to torify it. So we are remotely accessing our SFTP server. So for example, you're sitting in San Diego and somebody asks you to get your SFTP server running in somewhere in Baton Rouge in Louisiana, and you want those files to be fetched from their SFTP server in Baton Rouge to your San Diego server remotely from sitting at San Diego. And that's what you're doing. Okay, so you do torify. Okay, so you're gonna have to torify is mimicking it, because you're not actually in San Diego, you're not actually in Baton Rouge, so torifying it. So if you're actually doing it, you don't have to put out torify command. Okay, so you do the rest of the command that I'm putting out. That's what you do in real life, but this is basically mimicking real life. So from here, I'm gonna do SFTP, and then we want -v because the port has been rematched to 6966. Okay, so that's port 22 has been remapped to 6966. Okay, and then we're gonna put Bushmaster. Obviously, FreeBSD SFTP server username is Bushmaster, and then we have the domain name bluemoney.serve.ftp.com. Okay, and once you hit that, it's gonna ask you the password. Hit enter. Here we go. So it's gonna SFTP server password. So I'm gonna put out the password right there. And you're in the SFTP server in FreeBSD. Okay, so do pwd and do cd, do ls-l, and then you see a directory called upload download. So do cd upload download. But you can see it's all jailed. It's been jailed because you cannot go in FreeBSD to any other places. Okay, so ls-l is the same thing that we have done in here. And now you have a bunch of files you see. These are black negro girls dancing. Okay, so we want those files to be transferred right into our Red Hat directory download. So what do? You get command *.mpp4. That's basically wildcard. All the mp4 files gonna be fetched. Okay, hit enter. So it's gonna be start fetching all those files. You can see this start fetching. So what it is doing? Tell me. It is fetching all the file into the established directory, pre-selected directory that we have chosen, downloads. That's critically important. And my friend Jill actually showed me this command and how actually you utilize pre-selected directory before you start doing anything. So now those files have been there in our Red Hat, we can actually come out from FreeBSD, right? So we're doing everything, let's say with San Diego. You're sitting in San Diego and doing everything from San Diego all the way down to Baton Rouge in Louisiana. Or even Cincinnati in Ohio. So from here, I'm gonna exit and then clear the screen, and now we are back in that same directory. So we do lsb release -sc, so you know exactly where you are. You're in Red Hat. Do ls-l, and you see all these girls. So what we want is these files, okay, and these files are copies from SFTP server all the way down here just fine. Okay, so what we do want is these files, we want to put it in our SFTP server we established in Red Hat. Okay, and that's fine. So they're going to stay in here for now, and then we're going to go into our SFTP server. So you established in here, so you're going to put command to put in this file. So you make sure that you're in the download directory. So you do SFTP, okay, and then we're going to do, because we are in the local host, so we don't have to actually put out a port forwarding. Okay, so we do SFTP and then our username bushmaster at, and you can do localhost or you can put out your own IP addresses. I can't remember the IP address for this particular machine. Let's just check that out again. That's 175. So do SFTP bushmaster at 190.168. Plug in this number 175 and hit enter. And it's asking the password. Hit enter. It should be in SFTP now. Okay, so do CD upload. There we go. There's nothing there at the moment. That's fine. And I'm going to put those files. So we are in the established PC related download directory. So you do put *.mpp4 and hit enter. So all the files are going to be transferred there. And now if you do ls-l, you see all this file. So let's say you want to play those files. I don't think you can play it from there. So we can try. Okay, we can try. So we can do VLC. Or we can do bunny, and then if you do hit enter, it should play, hopefully. So you are actually in SFTP server, hit enter and see what happens. Invalid command. Why? Because you are jailed, you know, so you cannot really play those files, but those files can stay there, and that's fine. So what we want to do at the last stage is basically we can't really do anything because this is not port mapped, because we cannot actually do anything in terms of actually go into other servers and torify it. Okay, because in order to torify it, you have to have opened the port. Okay, so the port has not been opened for this particular machine, or remap the port in that machine. So I cannot actually do anything of that, but the files is there. The files are there. So what you can do is basically you can go into a different server, for example FreeBSD server, and do as a local host and check it. And that's what we're going to do now to finish the lecture. So you do exit from here and then clear this screen. And from here, I'm gonna do SSH to FreeBSD server, okay, or any server. Let's forget about FreeBSD. Let's do Debian12 server. So do SSH from here and ukey at 190.168.1.147. That's what I remember. And hit enter, and it will ask you. Oh, well, I think it's 247. Press enter. Yes, so hit yes. I'm gonna ask you the password. So put out the password. So now you're in Debian server. Okay, so if you do neo fetch in here, and you see your Debian server. So now from here, what we want to do is basically we're gonna get into that SFTP server of this Red Hat. Okay, so how are we gonna do that? Do SFTP, then bushmaster, and then plug in that IP address 190.168.1.175, right? 175, and hit enter, and then connection closed. Right? No, that's fine. That's not a problem. So basically, it is because it's the first time we're doing it. So we can actually resolve that issue, and in order to resolve that issue, you just have to copy that file. Okay, that's not a problem. Copy that and paste it right here. And then hit enter, and we are all good to go. So from here we do that. We do that again. SFTP bushmaster at 192.168.175. Hit enter, and fingerprint yes, and then put out the password. Hit enter. You should be in SFTP server now. Okay. So from here, CD upload, and now we're in Red Hat actually. So clear this screen. You cannot clear this screen, that's fine. ls-l, and you see this file. Let's see whether we can play those files now. Okay, I don't think it will play though, because we're in SFTP. It's not possible to actually play those files. Okay, let's just do mplayer Bonnie Parker. No, it will not play. So what we can do is basically we are in that SFTP server, we can see all those files, and that's cool enough. But but I still wanted to play those files. So what we can do is basically we can bring those files, or at least one file, into our Debian server, because we are actually in Debian server. Okay, so what we can do is basically we're gonna do get Bonnie mpp4 and hit enter. So what happened is basically it's gone in there. So exit, and now if you do ls minus, we do pwd, and you will see the file is actually there under home directory. So ls minus l, and you see the Bonnie Parker is right there. So let's just play it there, and you can play it now. So you do mclear, for example, Bonnie, and hit enter, and I think it should play. There we go. It cannot play because you're in SSH. Okay, because you're in SSH, you are remotely accessing it, but you actually played it. But you cannot say it because you're SSH. You're remotely accessing it, but you can see it played it because it did all the things that you need to do. But that's fine. So clear the screen from here, and then we gonna exit from here, and then we are back in our server in here. And then I'm gonna do a cd. We can do ls minus l. We can play it from here actually, just to show you that it's actually working. So do vlc, and then Bonnie, and you see a black Negro girl is actually dancing with the underpants on. Okay, so this concludes the lecture, and Red Hat has been very useful, and we've done it very well. So I'm going to remove all these files from here. So rm minus rf asterisk dot mpp4 and hit enter, ls minus l, all gone. Okay, clear the screen and do SFTP for the last time. Bushmaster at localhost. Hit enter, put the password, and you're in the SFTP. CD upload, download, ls minus l, and the file is there. Okay, and you want to fetch the file. For example, you want to do Bonnie Parker in there. Do get Bonnie Parker, or just forget Bonnie Parker. Get black good, or nigger good. Do nigger. Hit enter, and it's been fetched. So exit. Now where it's been fetched? Where you left it. So you do pwd. You are in the download directory ls minus l. The file has been fetched. Play that. Nigger. There we go. Nice nigger girls with the rainbow underwear on, dancing and watering her plants. It's something nice to watch. So with that note, so I'm going to finish this lecture. Okay, so with that note, I'm going to remove that rm minus rf asterisk dot mpp4. Clear the screen, do ls minus l again, and the file is there. So we tested that SFTP server works. So we covered a lot of things in this lecture. So cd dot, and then I'm gonna power off my Red Hat. So you can power off. You don't have to power off. If you want to do power off, su minus l, and then root password. Okay, and then do power off, and then the Red Hat is gonna end. Okay, so in this lecture we have established SFTP in our own protocol. You know, we have done a lot of legwork in here. We have put out SFTP server in a different partition, and we know exactly how the Red Hat has mapped that partition. We have changed the ownership of that partition. We're creating a different directory and given them the ownership, and also we give them a different permission level. And then we create establishment of SFTP server, and we remotely accessed it from our FreeBSD and brought all those files from FreeBSD to our Red Hat and put it into our SFTP server. And I'm going to conclude this lecture at this point, and I hope you enjoyed this lecture.